Okay, hello. So, today I would love to explore with you the ways of transforming or of actually shifting your perspective around difficult situations. So I know this is a really juicy topic, and that exploring it together is going to give us an opportunity to see what are some of the common pitfalls and some of the ways out of it that I have used myself, used with my clients, and I'd love to share with you. So if this is something that you think will be beneficial for you, that you can see there are times where you'd be interested in some maybe different techniques, then this is the video for you. Hi, I am Kylie Ansett. I am a seeker and a guide, a coach, a mentor, and I am a whisperer to the wild ones, the weird ones, the wonderful ones. If you're here, that's you. And coming to you from beautiful Sydney, Australia. So let's talk about this topic. So I kind of come up with, there's actually a lot of different techniques that we can use around this, and I would love to hear anything that you might want to add to it. But I've got 3 that I would say are my favorites, probably one that is my most favorite, and then another 2, and I might even touch on some others, but I'm going to talk about 3 main ones that are around transforming challenging, difficult, negative situations, however we want to label those. So, okay. So I guess we all know there are times when life throws us a curveball. There are people in our lives, there are situations that we find ourselves in, or we know we're going to be coming into, where it's potentially going to be challenging, or we know in the past that it has been, so we're expecting it to be in the future, or we might find ourselves smack bang in the midst of it. And of course, you know, these are the times in life where it's not feeling good. It's not a happy situation. It's not something that we want to perpetuate. So what do you do? All right. The 3 things I'm going to talk about are, first of all, going general. Second of all, finding the gold. And third of all, not listening. So those are the 3. Do you get that? So going general, finding the gold, and not listening. Now, I know that, especially that third one, anyway, you have to wait to see exactly what I mean by it. Now, let's look at this first one, though. Now, this is amazing how easy it is to apply this technique, and I guess that's kind of my goal with these, which is that ease of application is super important. If you can't do it in the moment, especially if it's a difficult moment, right? Especially if it's a situation that is pushing your buttons, if you can't do it then, you know, like if it's too complicated, you won't be able to do it then. So ease has to be a really important number 1 component. So going general is a wonderful technique, and if you notice with yourself, when you think about something that someone's done that's perhaps wronged you, so a situation that you've been found yourself in that you really don't enjoy, what do we tend to do when we're rehashing that in our own mind, you know, sometimes over and over and over again? When we are recounting the situation to friends or family, when we are thinking about it as we're driving to work or trying to get to sleep, whatever, we get into detail. You think about exactly what they said and exactly how they looked, and you wish you had said that, or next time you're going to say this and this and this. You get into the absolute nitty-gritty detail. Now, when you're deep in that, you're on a roller coaster of kind of negative momentum, and the best way to just halt it in its tracks is to go general. Now, one way of looking at this is kind of like you're up in the trees having a bird's eye view. You're looking down upon the situation. You're not in sort of down there on the ground in the nitty-gritty of it. So going general is where what usually it's quite challenging for people to go from being in a detailed situation, or like thinking about something in a detailed way negatively, to thinking about it in a detailed way positively. It's like there's too much of a gap there. So the way to bridge that gap is by going general. So you go from thinking about it in a negative way detailed to thinking about it in a negative way general. Now that's actually not such a big jump. You're just not getting down into the nitty-gritty. You're thinking about it like, well, I really don't like this situation, or I find it is really challenging. You're using kind of general statements. Here's a really good example for you. Now, I find it quite amusing when we interact with someone, and like say people who've just been on a trip and they had some terrible situation that happened on the airplane, you know, the plane was late or whatever, and they say, oh, you know, we had to sit around, and then she spilled her coffee, and you know, then this person said that. Like, they get into the detail. And often when you want to hear about the trip, they just give you, that's where they go general. Oh yeah, it was beautiful. So you kind of want to flip it and do the opposite. Go general with the negativity. So that's the first sort of step in this going general. So you start from being detailed negative, which is where we usually are to begin with. I know I am 100% guilty of this, but it's not that hard to get to a general place. And then you actually move quite quickly. You don't want to stay in either that negative detailed or that negative general, but to go from negative general to then kind of, even if not positive general, at least neutral general. So you might try statements, and this is, you know, obviously in your head, you're not saying this to the person you're interacting with. So this technique is useful mainly in a situation where you are thinking about something that's going to happen, or rehashing something that's already happened. In the moment, this one isn't as useful as some of the other techniques I'm going to go into. But so you go from general negative to general positive. You might say things to yourself like, well, I know they mean well, or sometimes I actually don't mind this job, or there are certain things about it that are, you know, tolerable. And you kind of talk yourself into that with just a few general statements. Now, the thing is that it's quite easy to go from general negative to general positive. So again, it's not a big jump in your mental gymnastics. It's not nearly as hard as going from sort of full-on negative to full-on positive. So when with these general statements, you just keep making them to yourself and sort of slightly skewing them a little bit more positive. So, you know, I guess it's not that bad, or I know they mean well. Maybe then saying something like, you know, some of the time, you know, I actually have a really good time with them. And you kind of just talk yourself up more and more in a general way. The reason that general works so much better than specific is that the key here is not to give yourself a statement that you will instantly just kind of roll your eyes at and go, oh yeah, that's not true. That's definitely not how it is. So the idea is to kind of keep it so that you can 100% agree with everything that you're telling yourself. So that technique is great. Next time you are sitting there obsessing about a certain situation that you don't like, that has already happened, or one that you are kind of envisaging happening in the future, and you're thinking about all the details, remember going general. Just just back yourself off from being down in the nitty gritty and get up into the trees and look down on it, and then just soothe yourself. It's a bit of a self-soothing. So I really love that one. So that is the first one. Now the second one is, finding the gold. Now, like, okay, I'm sure you have heard of this, but the analogy that I like to use for this is, it's kind of like if there's 10 things that are right with a situation and one thing that is wrong, our tendency is to focus on the one thing that is wrong, and that's where we put our energy and our attention and our focus, and it makes it the reality of the situation. So I'm sure I'm not telling you anything new here, but would you believe that you can also do the opposite, which is if there are 10 things that are wrong about a situation and one thing that's good, you can focus on that one thing, and again, you can change your perception and thus your experience of the situation. So there might be a incredibly challenging situation where there's like everything that's going wrong about it. Now, law of attraction is this this understanding of the way that the universe works, that whatever you put out vibrationally, you're putting out a vibration. We're all doing it at all times, a very specific vibration, and that's what we're drawing back towards ourselves. So whatever we're broadcasting, we're also receiving. So by, let's say, if you are in this difficult, challenging situation that's giving you a lot of angst and a lot of pain and a lot of grief, and absolutely there might be 10 things that are really bad about it, and you may be well within your rights to be focusing on those, either with your words or with your emotions or whatever, with your mind. But the thing is that means you're putting out the vibration of that, and then you're going to be attracting more of that. So it might start with 10 things and it'll end up with 20 things that are going wrong. Not even just about that situation, but about everything that you're walking through your life experiencing. And I'm sure you've experienced that kind of thing before, where, everything just kind of tumbles into everything goes wrong. You stub your toe, then the dog bites you, and then you get a bad phone call, and so on and so forth. So just flip that one around, and that means that find the one good thing. Okay, let's bring this into the concrete. Okay, so say you're living in a house that you really don't like. You've got horrible neighbours who fight all night and play loud music all day or whatever. You've got a construction site across the road with noisy people. It's near a pub where people come rolling drunk at home at midnight on the weekends. It's got leaking toilet and a dishwasher that doesn't work, and it's no insulation. Right, okay, I'm sure I could go on, but you get the idea. Now, you'd be well within your rights to focus on any one or all of those things. And we do this, you go out for coffee with your friend and you go, oh, my God, this place where I'm living, like, oh, the neighbors, they kept me up all last night, or, it's unbelievable, or like my electricity bill's just through the roof because it's so cold, whatever, etc. And so we do this, we focus on it mentally, and then we take that mental energy into our real life interactions with people. And it's kind of funny, it's almost like we're having this competition for who has it worst. And, God forbid you should say anything good about a situation, because that's no fun. Like we're trying to one-upmanship each other for how bad we have it. Why I'm worthy of the sympathy. This is what we do. And it's kind of hilarious once you recognize that pattern in yourself. I've done this. And you start seeing yourself doing it, and you start hearing other people doing it, and you kind of, like, you've got to have a bit of a giggle. Like, it's just such a crazy thing to do. But we feel that we're worthy if we're wearing the hair shirt and the sackcloth or whatever, you know, like then we've earned our due as being a good person. Well, God knows where these perverted concepts come from. So let's go back to the thing about the house. So you are living in a house that's got all these things going wrong, you know, the walls are falling down, there's mold in the bathroom, but there's a incredible little sunny spot in the back corner of the courtyard where it's really cool because it's quite private and you don't get any kind of wind or and you know, it's a nice little sun trap, so it's a perfect place to capture the sun. So that's all you talk about. That's the gold. So you found the one good thing, or it's got like a beautiful bay window, or it's got a gorgeous tree outside, whatever. You find the one good thing, and then that's what you focus on. You talk to your friends about it. Every time you think about your place, you just go, oh, that tree, I love that tree, I love that tree, I love that tree. It's the best thing. It's the best tree in the whole neighborhood. I love it, I love it. Basically, every single time you bring to mind your shitty apartment or whatever, you immediately flip. And at first, it takes quite a conscious effort to find the gold because you're so kind of used to and feel so justified in the opposite, in what you've been doing, and you know, it's such a habit, and there's momentum going with that thought process because you've been practicing it for a while. But after time, you start a new momentum going, and that's the momentum of focusing on that beautiful tree or that beautiful sunny spot or whatever it is. You focus on the thing that is positive, and that will turn the tide. The scales will shift. And the way that the vibrational universe works is that you are putting out this positive vibration, and then that's what will come back to you. Now, how does this manifest itself? Well, basically, of course, you're going to feel better straight away. Like, that's a no-brainer, right? You're going to feel better because you're talking about something that makes you feel happy and you're focusing on something that makes you feel good. But from a vibrational kind of law of attraction, kind of universal concept, that vibration that you're putting out is going to bring towards you things that match it. So maybe it means that, you know, you find another apartment that's, you know, that ticks all the boxes, or maybe it means that those neighbors that you haven't been paying any attention to, even when they're going at it hammer and tongs, move out and someone really nice moves in, or maybe it just means that you no longer see all those negative things. Now, I want to give you another example about this because this is one I see all the time. And we can thank the media for this. I mean, hello, like the media is just, would have to be the crowning, the reigning royalty on being able to point out the negative in a situation. But the environmental movement, what it has morphed into at the moment, or in current years, has created so much emotion of negativity and guilt, and it feels to me that the media, the people that we listen to, the people with an agenda, are going around looking for all the really negative things for us to focus on, when we know, looking around the world, there is so much beautiful things going on. And you can focus on one or the other, and whichever one you focus on is what you're going to be bringing more and more of to you. Now, I could say a lot more on that. That's kind of delving into the political aspect of things, which I'm definitely not doing here today. But I think you get the idea that it is about the vibration that we put out on this, and we are in control of that. We may not be in control of who lives next door to us, or even whether we have the ability to move out of our house or leave a difficult situation, but we certainly have a control over what vibration we put out. So that's empowering, right? That's empowering. Okay, number 3, and this was a controversial one. Don't listen to what they say. Now, of course, when, and this is one. So the other 2 were probably more relevant for when you're thinking about coming into a challenging situation, or when you're rehashing it afterwards, which we do tend to do. Whereas this one is much more relevant for when you're kind of in the midst of it, right? So, don't listen to what they say. Don't listen to their words. Now, of course, I don't mean this in a kind of rude, objectionable way. But what happens is that, and I've got a really cool exercise that I've just been playing around with in the last few days, and it's really fun to use in this situation, or to practice this situation. So, what happens is that it's again, we get caught in the nitty gritty and words, and when we're having conversations, especially negative conversations or ones where we're feeling judged, or that trigger anger or resentment or hurt or blah blah blah, all of those things that are possible in these kind of situations. So what happens is we and like, I know I can think of a million examples in my life, I'm sure you can too, where you listen to the words they're saying, and then you react to that sentence that they just said, and then they react to what you're saying. And most of the time, because you're in such a bad place, everyone's missing each other's point and talking over each other. And the idea is to ignore the words, not to listen, but to feel. So let me give you an example of the kind of situation this would work in. Like, okay, let's say you've got an adult child and parent, and the parent is worried about some of the decisions that the adult child is making. Even not adult child, even like it's probably more relevant to younger ones. But anyway, so they are saying things like, you shouldn't do that, or laying down the law maybe, or telling them this is how you should be doing it, and so on and so forth. And then the child, which is you in this situation, is feeling judged and is feeling not worthy. Like, that's the feeling they're getting from. So they're trying to rebut their parents. Oh, but this, and they're trying to argue with logic, right? This whole conversation, as most of our arguments and negative conversations, are not coming from a place of logic at all. They're coming from a place of, let's stop thinking about the words. The feeling, the general feeling of, let's say, the parent, pretty much any parent, the reason they do or say anything is because they care for and love their child, and they want the best for them, and so that's at the top of it. That's the absolute top feeling, and then everything that comes on after that is tainted by whatever else, their life experience, history that they've gone through, history that they have with the child, etc., etc. So the idea is, as the person in this conversation, if you can stand back and just interact with the feeling, not the words. That's what I mean by don't listen. And it's really hard to do, because a lot of these words have been repeated many times to us. A lot of these words are really triggering words. A lot of these words are stuff, let's say that we might have heard since we were 5 years old, and they really, they have an instant reaction to us. It's just a pattern that we're so used to. So stepping out of that takes a certain level of concentration and awareness. But here's the really cool exercise I wanted to share with you. I just discovered this the other day, and I found it, I find it funny because I'm sitting on my ankle, and I think it's gone to sleep. Okay, so I never watch the news. I don't even have a TV, or like nothing that's plugged in. Or read the news or anything like that. Like, the main way I find out what's going on, I didn't even know Australia had a new Prime Minister until one of my clients said, oh, what do you think about what happened, da da da, and I was like, oh, what happened? I didn't know. Like, thank God I missed out on all that hoo-ha. Like, what a waste of my time that would have been. But anyway, I laugh laugh about those sort of things. And people can't believe it that I know nothing about this. But anyway, what, just for kicks, and try this. Go to one of those websites, the news.com or whatever, and you know, the front page of their website where they've got the headlines for the 5 or 6 stories of the day. You know, they're always these highly emotive, salacious kind of you know, negative 100% headlines. And now, of course, I'm not recommending you buy into any of this, but I probably found it easier to do because this is such a foreign thing to me, and I look at those and I just go, oh my God, like they're really trying to push some buttons. But I don't have any emotional relationship like I might with, say, a parent, like with that last conversation I was just explaining. So you look at those headlines and then try and discern the feeling, the energy, or the emotion behind them. Now, okay, I will admit this is a little bit of a negative one because almost 100% of the time it is negative. You know, they're trying to instill fear. They're trying to make me feel lack. They're trying to make me feel fear of missing out. They're trying to, like, all these kind of things. Now, like, don't kind of get too bogged down in it. This is not an exercise to really try and make you buy into any of that. The idea is to practice understanding that the words that people say have often got nothing to do with what the actual feeling behind it is. And looking at newspaper headlines is a kind of an easy, what can we say? Like it's just sort of an easy, private way to do it. Another way to do it is to kind of eavesdrop on other people's conversations, like sit in a cafe and again listen to the conversations but not worry about the words. And I'm not talking about the emotion, okay, because the emotion behind words is also often mixed up with the words. It's kind of already bogged down too far. It's like what is the intention? Okay, that's a better way to put it. What is the intention behind the words? Because in that conversation with the parent and child, let's say you were overhearing, you're in a cafe, you were overhearing a adult mother and daughter talking, and you know the mother was having some judgment on the, or okay, let's do another one. How about like a father and a teenage son, and what the father's saying is trying to help that son, but it's coming across as just, you know, butting heads, and then the son's like just reacting. But you look at that and you see where this father is coming from is from a place of care and love. Okay, so that's the kind of way, if you can start looking at and doing it for other people, then when it comes to the interaction yourself, you're habituated to look at what's the actual motivation behind these words they're saying to me. Like I feel attacked, or you know, that I'm not worthy or whatever. I mean, that's got so much more to do with where you're at than it does to do with anything that they're saying. If you can step back from that, you'll probably find a very different message. Okay, now I hope that all kind of made sense and that you got some tips from that. So just to recap, first of all, it was go in general. Really, really good when you are rehashing a situation. So this is really good when you are when you're thinking about the situation. Second of all was finding the gold, and that's another one really good for you to change your vibration when you're interacting with others, but also when you're thinking about a situation. And then number 3 was don't listen to their words, which basically means try to find the underlying motivation or objective for what an interaction is that's being offered to you. Okay, So that's it. This was actually quite a long one. I think next time I might just start with one topic at a time, but I really have enjoyed you giving me your time and spending some time here with me exploring these topics. If you have anything to add, if you have tried any of these yourself and found them useful, or if you're going to go forward and try them in certain situations, do share with us. I'd love to hear. I think we can all learn from each other, and specific scenarios are a really good learning practice. So sharing those with other people is very, very powerful. So thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you being here and sharing my energy and being part of this together. Okay, bye.